My name is Alice Kowalski, and I'm 88 years old. I was born in 1938 in a coal and steel town in western Pennsylvania, the kind of town built on a hillside so steep the streets went straight up and the whole valley smelled of the mill day and night, a smell you stopped noticing until you left and came back. Row houses shoulder to shoulder, everybody's laundry crossing the alley on a line. That's where I'm from, and a piece of me never left it. I want to tell you about a woman who lived in my house for 20 years and could not stand the sight of me. 20 years. She slept down the hall from me, ate at my table 3 times a day, and in all that time I don't believe she said one warm word to me on purpose. My mother-in-law, Edith. And I'm going to tell you this story because of how it ended, because of the last thing she ever said to me with what little breath she had left, and what I found afterward in the cedar chest at the foot of her bed. 20 years of a thing I thought I understood completely got turned inside out in about 1 minute, and I have spent the 40 years since trying to be worthy of what I learned. So stay with me. I'll tell you what those 20 years were like, because you may be living a version of them right now. I'll tell you why she was the way she was, which I didn't understand until it was nearly too late. And I'll tell you her last words. It's the part I've never gotten through without stopping to catch my breath. Let me tell you about Edith first, so you understand what I was up against. Edith came over from Poland when she was 14 years old, all by herself, with a paper tag pinned to her coat and not one word of English in her mouth. 14. I can't hardly picture it. She went straight to work scrubbing other people's floors, and she scrubbed floors, off and on, for the next 60 years. She married a miner, my husband's father, and she buried a baby girl in the Depression, a little daughter, before my Frank was ever born, and she never once in her life spoke that child's name out loud, where I could hear it. And then the mill and the coal took her husband too, slow, the way it took all of them, coughing, and she was a widow before she was old. So when Edith's husband died in 1965, and there was nowhere for her to go, Frank and I did what you did in those days. We took her in. I was 27 years old, married 5 years, with 2 little ones underfoot and a third coming, and my mother-in-law moved into the back bedroom, and she stayed until the day she died. And she made it clear from the first hour that she thought her son had married beneath him. Nothing I cooked was right. My cabbage rolls were lazy. My bread was store bread, which was a sin. My coffee was dishwater. She would correct me in front of company, sweet as anything, so I couldn't even take offense out loud. She'd watch me with the children and shake her head, just slightly, like she was witnessing a slow disaster. If I bought her a scarf for Christmas, it went in a drawer, never worn. If I asked her to sit while I served, she'd say she preferred to stand, as if my chairs weren't good enough for her either. 20 years of that. 20 years of a woman in my own home who acted like I was the hired girl who'd gotten above herself. And I want to be honest with you, because there's no use pretending at my age. I hated it. I cried in the pantry more times than I could count. I begged Frank to say something to her. And Frank, God love him, he was a good man, but he was terrified of his mother the way sons of women like that always are. And he'd just say, "That's how she is, Alice. Don't take it to heart. Don't take it to heart." As if you could live inside a cold front for 20 years and not feel the chill. If you're out there right now, sharing a roof, or even just a family, with somebody who's decided not to like you, and you can't for the life of you figure out what you did wrong, then you already know exactly the ache I'm describing. Do me a small kindness and tell me down below where you're listening from, so I know I'm not the only one who ever swallowed it year after year for the sake of keeping the peace. It helps to know you're there. Now, here is what I didn't understand for 20 years, and I'm ashamed of how long it took me. There were things Edith did that never added up, if all she felt for me was scorn. My socks, the ones with holes I meant to throw out, they'd come back to me darned, invisibly, better than new, and nobody ever said a word about it. When my youngest had the pneumonia, it was Edith who sat up with him the nights I couldn't keep my eyes open. Edith who wouldn't leave that boy's side, fierce as a dog. When a neighbor woman once said something snippy about me at a church supper, I heard later that Edith turned on her like a hawk and said, "That is my son's wife you're speaking of, and you'll mind your tongue." My son's wife. She defended me like family to the whole world, and then came home and treated me like a stranger. It made no sense to me. I filed it away under the great mystery of Edith, and I went on hurting. She got sick in the fall of 1985. It went fast at the end, and of course it was me who nursed her. 20 years she'd looked down her nose at me, and there I was spooning broth between her lips and washing her and sitting up nights, because that is what you do, and because underneath everything she was Frank's mother and my children's grandmother, and I could not do otherwise. She let me. That was the strange thing those last weeks. She let me tend her, and she didn't fight it, and something in her face was working at something it couldn't get out. The last night she was very weak, and I was sitting by the bed in the dark, and I thought she was asleep, and she reached over and she took my hand. She had never once in 20 years taken my hand, and she said my name, Alice. She'd called me girl for 20 years, or she'd call me nothing at all, and now at the very end she said Alice, soft, the way you'd say the name of somebody you loved. And she said this, she said, "You were the best thing that ever came into this house, and I could never let you know it. I was hard on you because I was jealous. You were so soft with those children, so gentle. Nobody was ever gentle with me. I came here a girl with a tag on my coat, and the world beat every soft thing out of me before I was grown. And when I looked at you, all that sweetness still alive in you after everything, I couldn't stand it. It was like looking at the woman I might have been, and I punished you for it every day, and you nursed me anyway, Forgive me, Alice. You were the daughter I lost. You were always the daughter I lost. And then she was quiet, and a little while after that she was gone. I sat in that dark room and I shook. 20 years. 20 years of thinking a woman despised me, and the truth was, she'd loved me so much and so helplessly that she couldn't bear to be in the same room with the proof of everything that had been stolen from her. Her coldness was never about me at all. It was grief. It was grief wearing armor, walking around my house for 20 years, and I never once saw it for what it was. After we buried her, I opened the cedar chest at the foot of her bed, and I have to tell you what was in it, because it finished breaking my heart and mending it in the same minute. Every scarf I ever gave her that I thought went unworn, folded careful in tissue paper, saved. Every school photograph of my children, and on the back of each one, in her shaky old country hand, their names and their ages, and one word about each of them. Smart, kind, stubborn like me. There was the newspaper clipping from the year I won the ribbon for my pies at the county fair, the very pies she'd called ordinary to my face, cut out and pressed flat and kept for years. And down at the bottom, wrapped in a handkerchief, her own mother's wedding ring, the one thing she'd carried across an ocean at 14, with a note that said, "For Alice." Not for Frank, not for a granddaughter, for me, for the girl she couldn't say a kind word to for 20 years. So here is what I carry now, and what I want to hand to you, since I've kept you this long. There are people in this world who were never once shown how to love out loud. It got frozen in them so early and so deep that by the time they're grown, the warmth is all still in there, but it can't find the door. And we look at the frost on the outside and we decide that's the whole of them. We spend years hurt by people who are, the entire time, loving us in the only broken way they've got left. I almost missed Edith completely. I almost went to my own grave, believing she hated me, when the truth was, she loved me more than she could survive showing. So, if there's a hard old soul in your life right now, some cold aunt, some impossible mother-in-law, some father who never once said the words, I'm not telling you to make excuses for cruelty. I'm telling you to look twice. Look for the darned socks. Look for the saved photographs. Look for the love that's coming out sideways because the front door's been nailed shut since before you were born. And if you can, say the warm thing first, out loud, while there's still somebody there to hear it. Don't leave it all for the last night, the way Edith and I did. We wasted 20 years being lonely in the same house. Don't you waste yours. If this reached the tender part of you, then come back and sit with me again sometime. I've got a whole life of these, and not so long left to tell them. And tell me down below, is there a hard person you've since come to understand? Say what you finally saw in them. Somebody else needs to read it tonight, and look twice before it's too late. I wear Edith's mother's ring every single day. It's on my hand right now as I talk to you. 88 years old, and I've worn it 40 years. This ring that crossed an ocean, pinned inside the coat of a frightened 14-year-old girl who grew into the hardest, most heartbroken, most secretly loving woman I ever knew. My name is Alice Kowalski, and I forgave my mother-in-law the night she died, and I've spent every day since trying to be as gentle with the frozen people of this world as I wish somebody had been with her.